Sometimes it's hard to know whether you want to pick a few things and then put a lot of energy into those, or if you want to pick a lot of things and then focus on them at a more surface level. I think about that with games a lot. You could take, say, your top 5 favorite games and then spend a lot of time in those. Or maybe, just to keep this simple, we could say pick just one game and then just play that game only. Or you could say, well, I'm going to play hundreds of different games, just a little bit, but I don't have time to master any one of them. Well, I think the answer, if you're trying to pick between the two, is really a little bit of both. I think there's games that you kind of make a lifestyle in the sense that you always return to them. There's sort of evergreen content. You continue to make those games your virtual home. And then there's the ones that really aren't a virtual home. They're stories that you want to experience. Maybe I want to experience the Tomb Raider games, so I play through them. My goal is just to do a playthrough at some point during my life. It's not to sink hundreds of hours into those games necessarily. It's just to be able to dabble and say that I experienced the storyline, and that's enough. Sort of like reading a book. There's a lot of books out there which are good books, but you're not going to necessarily read them over and over again. You read them once and you got the message, and that's probably good enough. And then there's a few books that maybe are a little bit more special, like the Bible or the Lord of the Rings, where no matter how many times you've read them, you might get some value out of coming back to them to flip through those pages again. So I think that the best way to look at experiences in life is to kind of put them into two buckets. Some which are meant to be seasoning in our life that adds a little bit of important context and flavor. Because if you only eat one thing all the time, even if it's a really good thing, it'll start to be a little bit boring. But then there's the things that you really make the meat and potatoes of your life. Whether we're talking about your work, your friends, your social life, your spouse, your gaming hobby, whatever it is. You pick a few things that you really, really are going to spend time growing closer with and spending time with and just immersing yourself in. You can have a few titles in gaming that are your forever games, maybe, right? They're those timeless titles that have more than 1,000 hours of playtime in your Steam library somehow. And then there's the other ones, which really are just meant to be a story. Just like a book that you would read, make your way through, and then put it on the shelf and be glad that you read the book. The things that are meant to be your lifelong companions are rare and few, and when you're talking about those things, it really is best to stop trying so hard to make room for everything. I think about RPGs, and the thing about RPGs is they do have a lot of similar elements that overlap. Like, how many games do you need to play where the goal of the game is for you to gather resources, craft things, and just overall be, fighting random mobs and doing fetch quests? If you do it in one game, you probably kind of get the gist of it. You don't need to have a whole bunch of RPGs or MMOs that you're playing all at the same time necessarily. But if it's something that you kind of immerse yourself in and you make it a part of your daily life, then, well, you pick a few things that are really, cool and special, and then you do those things. Like, you don't need to have an enormous laundry list of every single thing in the kitchen sink that you're going to try to spend time doing. And when in doubt, I really do think it's better to be in favor of minimalism in anything. You don't need to dabble in every single thing. And I've talked about this before, but I continue to think the risk of having this feeling of FOMO is a real problem. Where you think, well, I need to participate in all these different things. But the reality is you're not missing it. If you just have a good experience and you just enjoy the things you are doing, you really don't need to spend time doing everything there is out there to be done. Life does not have a score that you get for being a completionist. You're not going to have the credits roll at the end of your life and then be able to be extra proud of yourself because you min-maxed and you wound up successfully, playing every single game that was ever made and watching every single movie that was ever created. I think in life there's a point where you want to just stop searching. Stop trying to see whether there's something better out there. Stop trying to figure out how you're going to put more things into your day and start just letting it be okay to, go through your day and you get to some things and you don't get to some things. And as long as you are happy with the things that you did spend time doing, you don't worry about whether you did enough. That's easier said than done, but I think it's important. And I think it helps a lot to have peace in your life if you stop wondering whether you got enough stuff done today. A good rule of thumb is to say, I know what I'm doing now and I know what I'm going to do next. And if you always did that, you also might find that you have more time in your life for having a few things that you spend a lot of time on, the big rocks, and then having a number of things that you spend a little bit of time on, which are the pebbles. And that's true in gaming. It's true in life. It's true in relationships. Imagine if I said, well, what's better? For you to have a lot of friends or for you to have a spouse? Well, that's kind of a hard question to answer. But maybe the whole point is that there's supposed to be a balance there. It's not that you're supposed to have the spouse or a whole bunch of friends. It's that somewhere in that calculus, you should probably spend more time, more energy on your family, your loved ones, your spouse. Those should be higher by far in importance than random friends or social connections, because that's just the right way to go. You pick the things you love, and then that's what you spend most of your life's energy on. But if that's where 75% of your focus goes, well, then the other 25% should be able to be focused on a healthy social life with your friends, right? And so like, yeah, you could have one game you played a whole lot, and then you can still make time to play a bunch of other ones a little bit here and there. You can have time for your job, and you can have time for your family, and you can have time for a gaming hobby. Because it's not really about choosing just one thing in life that you're going to do, and then you're not going to touch anything else. But the success comes down to putting them in the right order. Know the things that really matter a lot to you, and then know the things that still matter to you, but they don't matter very much. Know the things that are important because they're necessary, and know the things that are important because you love them. And spend your time doing both. People who spend all their time being invested in their jobs and then they don't spend time focused on family, well, that's not good. People who spend their life playing video games and don't ever develop their career or develop their social life, well, that's not good. People who are always busy, taking care of their kids and going to work and things, and then they make it all the way through life and they never find time to have hobbies of any kind, because they're always doing things that are important and they never have time to stop and smell the roses. Well, that's not good. And that's the real tricky thing about life, that no matter how much you think there's an answer out there to be found, that you could find that one thing to focus on completely, or maybe you could focus on everything to some degree. It's not about a binary answer. It's about a middle ground. It's about a place of moderation where you have a sufficient amount of time to do everything. You have balance in your life, and you have peace in your life without necessarily picking any one particular thing and saying this is going to be the one-size-fits-all answer to everything in life. You do have to say some things are more important than other things. You do have to prioritize things. You do have to say, I'm not going to dabble in every single thing. I'm going to allow myself to, miss out on some things so that I can be more mindful about the things which remain. You do have to have a balance of all of these things if you're going to have a good experience in life. And that's the trick, because everyone wants someone to come and say, here's the answer. Here's how you're supposed to do it. And there is no answer. So it's like that Bible verse which says, a wicked generation seeks a sign, but no sign will be given them. And sometimes we look out into the world and we say, what should I do? What is the solution? And the universe doesn't really give us any clear response for what the solution is, how we should manage our time, how we should balance our life. But if we listen to our intuition, if we listen to the still small voice inside, we understand what it is that brings value into our life, what matters a lot, what matters a little bit. And as we close out this video, I would say the final thing you should always remember is that there are a lot of things that don't matter at all. And maybe they don't matter at all because you already got the value you needed to get out of them in the past. And they were special to you before, but you don't need them around anymore. Don't be burdened by baggage from the past. Or maybe they're just something that doesn't interest you at all. It doesn't add value to you. So don't try to keep forcing yourself to get value out of something that you just don't really enjoy. An example of that would be, I like Age of Empires and various real-time strategy games. But as time has gone on, I don't really care for competitive multiplayer games. I don't enjoy playing games where you start a match, you play a match, it's competitive, and then the match is over as quickly as it started and you have nothing really to show for it other than somebody's ego is slightly bruised due to the taunting. Like, that just doesn't really do anything for me anymore. I don't enjoy it. And so you know what? Now if I play a real-time strategy game, which I rarely do because the truth is I don't care as much about them as I used to. I'd much rather build things, create things, explore. I've just kind of had to come to terms with that. You know, there's amazing value in those games. I just don't really enjoy them all that much. So I'm going to spend my time doing the things I actually enjoy. And that doesn't mean that I have to keep forcing myself to, to be excited to play things I just don't really get a lot of a sense of value out of. And some of those are games I really did used to enjoy. Like, I used to love playing World of Warships, World of Tanks, World of Warplanes. Those games, I liked them. Spent a lot of hours playing them. But these days, I don't really care too much about spending time playing them. So I just let it be what it is. And sometimes we have this attitude that if something isn't forever, then we have to be anathema to it. We got to write it off. We got to say, oh, well, I don't love it if I'm not going to be immersed in it anymore. Well, that's not fair. Maybe you did get value out of it. Maybe you did enjoy it. But it doesn't have to be something that you continue to spend all your time focused on. It's okay for something to just be fun for a season, and then you let it go to rest. Life is temporary. So if you're looking for something in life that you're going to say, well, this is my permanent forever thing, well, you aren't going to be around forever, so that's kind of a pointless pursuit, wouldn't you say? So it's not about min-maxing any one particular thing. It's not about making something that you enjoyed in the past still be relevant to you in the present if it's not. It's not about forcing yourself to add a little bit of everything into your life. There's social contracts with people where you realize, you know what, I don't enjoy spending time with these people. Well, then don't. Because some people just don't add value to your life. And it's not because they don't have value, it's just because you don't enjoy them. So don't spend your life trying to fit everything in. It's completely necessary to realize that there's a lot of things you just don't care about. You don't want them in your life. And then, once you've gotten rid of the things that don't add any value to your life, well, then you have a lot more room for all of the things that add a small amount of value to your life. And you have a lot more time for the things that add significant value to your life. It's just like the pickle jar. Most of us saw it at some point in our life, I think. You can fit everything into the pickle jar if you put it all in the right order. You got to put in the big rocks, and then you put in the little rocks, and then you put in the gravel, and then you put in the sand, then you put in the water, and it all goes in the jar. Well, a lot goes into the jar. Doesn't mean everything goes in the jar, because I'm sure there's some things that just don't need to go in at all. And that's the point. So, let some things go. Let some things get a small share of your attention. And make sure that you put a lot of time and effort into the things that really add a true sense of meaning and value into your life. Ultimately, it doesn't matter a whole lot if some things don't fit in, as long as you put the important things first. And that's I think where we go wrong. Sometimes I think about all the stuff that you think it'd be cool to do, game that you think would be cool to play, whatever it is, and then if you're not careful, you never get time for it. Well, I'll close with this thought. Sometimes it's a good idea just to make time for it now. Now, if I said, well, I want to play this game and I've got to do a full playthrough of it and make it all the way to the end, well, then, it's going to always be on the list of one day I'll get to it. But what if that wasn't the goal? What if the goal was just to experience it a little bit? Well, then suddenly that goal could be achieved right now. That goal could be achieved today. And that's the beauty of making a little bit of time for the things that matter to you a little bit and not putting it off. You don't have to commit your life to every single thing that wants your attention. It's just about knowing what is it that adds the most value to your life, what is it that adds the least, and what is it that doesn't add any value at all. The best way to know is just to listen to your own sense of life, that you have all the time a still small voice inside of you that says this is right for me, and that is not. As always, good luck on your adventure wherever life takes you. Till next time, thanks so much for watching.